Hey, Dr. Ryder, anyone else who may take the time to watch this is Eddie Knighton's final reflection on EDL595. Divided into four areas. The first is thoughts on the course specifically. Second is campus environments. Third is my personal interests that have emerged from this course. And four, all too brief developmental plan. First is thoughts on EDL 595 specifically. I've never had a course, summer course, nor have I had an online course. The closest thing that I've had has been hybrid courses that I've experienced in this program. So all my experience in school has been traditional classroom settings. I like how brief the course was because it fits my attention span in a way. I like how it had some applied learning in it by visiting the college campuses. I don't think that this course would have worked without that component. Then, the communication aspect as to where we make presentations, it's interactive form and kind of a student-centered where, students teach students. I've always been hesitant with that student teach student format as I feel that sometimes you're at the mercy of other students, in their ability to do the reading and understand it. And sometimes I feel that the content is about half and half. This course kind of held that average. Half of the students did very good presentations. The other half, you can tell, were a little hurried and they quite possibly didn't do the readings. I felt that some of the information could have been delivered better by a professor, but this is just sort of the nature of these kind of accelerated summer programs and not necessarily reflected on this course specifically. I'd say the bottom line, though, on this course is that in this ADHD YouTube culture, I do think that it fit my particular mood and attention span at the moment. And I have a feeling it's going to be like so many other of the EDL courses that I've taken so far, is that you really realize what you've learned from it like a month or two after the program's ended. Campus environments, it's the name of the course after all. And full confession, although I love higher education, when I began the program, I didn't know anything about colleges. I didn't work at one coming in, getting a master's degree. I want a job at a college. That's my starting point. And I didn't even know enough to realize that I didn't know anything. As stated in a lot of my previous presentations and responses, my experiences as I went to community college, transferred into a small liberal arts college, and I thought that was the universal college experience. I thought the rest were variables. And I did not foresee the difference between, say, liberal arts and comprehensive schools. I didn't take into account the regional and cultural differences, and therefore the differences in missions and organizational environments. I guess I thought that colleges were kind of like Home Depots or something. Like, no matter where you went, Home Depot is Home Depot with the same products. The only thing that may differ is, what products they carry and their individual employees' personalities. And I'm actually relieved that colleges, as of this date, are so inherently like this, that each campus varies. It's a good message for people like myself who like, I know a lot of secondary teachers who get their teacher licensure and then they go into a school and then they quit teaching because teaching's not for them. But in reality, if they would have just tried a different school environment, they might have found that teaching is a very rewarding experience. So that take-home message is, if one school doesn't suit your personality or your ethics, find one that does. I like how the course filters the campuses through these four campus aspects of the aggregate, physical, the organizational, and the socially constructed. I'd say that this is essential understanding for leadership roles in reducing and isolated issues in order to find areas of improvement and how to instruct that. One example from the course is understanding the level of bureaucratic structuring to better understand a campus environment as a whole. And, I've used this illustration in like almost every single one of my presentations. But it's really essential to understand this to find where your college may fit and where your personality type is so you can make that personal connection. Is the organizational environment more centralized or is it more decentralized? Where does the power lie in the decision making? Is it teacher centered or is it more student centered? From my microcosm, at UNCW and from my personal experiences at a now realized very liberal arts college, it's easy to assume that teacher-centered colleges are the norm, are of the past, and that all colleges are student-centered. And I just don't think that's so. Went the campus I visited for the comprehensive module, Carolina Coastal University. On the surface, it was like every other university. It was rooted in humble beginnings. You could read the history. It mirrored so many colleges. Well-intended, community-oriented, make the world a better place. If I wasn't studying colleges in this course and just lived as a person in the North Myrtle Beach area, I would have sent my kid there, no problem. It's a nice school. It's new and also old. It's absolutely beautiful, and it mirrors the upper class North Myrtle Beach aesthetic. I like that newness and that cleanliness and that short grass and trimmed hedges and neat sidewalks. And if some of their student areas sold food, it's so nice that it would be a casual fine dining experience that you would pay $20 a meal. It's just a good environment physically to be in. However, in reviewing CCU's mission statement and their hyper concern with expansion and tearing up, it's easy to see that this is either, the singular ambitions of a series of presidents who are looking to not only tear the school up, but to tear up their own careers, or B, a board of trustees who think more like stockholders. Safety at CCU was ever present, but it was in the shadows, like an Orwell novel. Without burning up all my time talking about CCU because I've already talked about it, it was a dystopia. This was apparent on the faces of the administrator that I was interviewing. He gave, stock talking point answers, but the whole time he's looking at me, his eyes was asking me. He's like, what is your real purpose here? Who are you with? In other words, if I would have entered and accepted a job at CCU, I would have been miserable because it's a very Christian and also racist university sort of in disguise with secular values. If I would have sent my daughter there, she would either A, drop out, or B, come out 4 years later as a Republican on her way to business school. And although my family lineage of poverty and the lack of success may be broken by her in that situation, the shame would be unbearable. Long story short, make sure that the four aggregate environments correspond with one another. Make sure the mission reflects the students and vice versa. Don't necessarily be baited nor repelled exclusively by physical environments. And organizational and social constructed environments are sort of in the shadows. Do field work, which I think is the purpose of this entire course, is to teach you to do the field work. Personal interest, I have to make this quick now. In revisiting a nice community college such as Cape Fear Community College, it really did resurface the feelings of wonderment that I experienced as a student at AB Tech. Until this day, I attributed those feelings exclusively intrinsically, such as that was youth or the optimism of youth and the curiosity I had because I had more leisure time, and I'm one of those types of people that need an amount of leisure time. But I now realize excuse me, I don't know what happened there. I now realize that community colleges offer something that I need. It offers a more diverse population in the realest sense of the word to me. People of similar SES backgrounds, and typically many of the people there are adults and they're there of their own accord. As a non-traditional student, in a socially constructed environment, these are my people. I've been talking extensively about my difficulties in transitioning from AB Tech to UNCA and now to UNCW. I've exhausted the subject, I realize that. And I'm going to retire it, but I've really come to the conclusion that as a self-professed progressive, I'm actually very conservative in many philosophical areas, and I may have a personal problems in transitioning abstractly. To date, I just acknowledge that these are my faults, but in understanding the four campus environments, I know better my place and where I feel at home. And surprisingly, it just may be a community college because it does sort of feel like home. So that's kind of closing that loop. I'm going to make professional development quick. I'm already over time. But, the powerful Dr. Oxendine pretty much says that if you don't have a professional plan, then you're just talking. You don't really have anything. So my plan is to start working toward helping non-traditional students, relying on my prior experience at the DSS to help students in need in that demographic, and that pretty much my loyalties remain with these low SES and low cultural social statuses. So I want to start applying at community colleges. I'm going to sort of gear my study and potentially my capstone event around that information and just network within developmental our departments here at UNCW that sort of cater to those non-traditional groups. And if anyone wanted to require Susan Thornhill, a re-enrollment specialist and person who works extensively with non-traditional students, to take me on as an intern, I would not argue about that. But anyway, thank you very much, Dr. Ryder, for the course. Once again, it was very informative and changed my philosophy, and I look forward to taking more courses with you before I'm out of here.